The University of California used to be a great school, really great. Now they invite people who say it's legal for white men to rape black women and there are no penalties. Not only did he say that, he's been invited back to speak again. Claire Lopez, every week it seems we talk about what's going on college campuses, and the more you look, the worse it really is. Here's another one. UC San Francisco, University of California, San Francisco, just hosted a speaker who said that whites were psychopaths. He was there to speak on Black History Month. It's a guy named Dante King, and his lecture was titled Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, White Psychopathology, Collective Psychosis, and Trauma in America. That basically whites are congenital liars. They hate black people. They always will. There will never be equality in the country. He said white people's behavior represents underlying biologically transmitted proclivity with roots deep in their evolutionary history. How many of you can see that by a show of hands? And some people didn't raise their hands. And he said, you are in denial. In other words, if you were white at the University of California and you didn't believe that all whites are psychopaths and hate black people, meaning you didn't raise your hand, it's because you're a psychopath and you're lying. And he's been invited back to speak again. Welcome to America on college campuses.
You know, my sympathy goes out to those students who are a captive audience for this kind of nonsense. Sympathy, maybe some sympathy for the parents who keep shoveling out the money to pay for those college educations. But, you know, honestly and more seriously, we're looking at a generation and more, generations plural, of American students at colleges and universities who are not getting the education their parents are paying for, not getting the kind of education that is going to lead America through the rest of this century and beyond, not going to enable these students after they graduate, you know, to take their place in leadership of, you know, government and academia themselves, and every other, you know, institution of our society, in competition with students coming out of universities, let's say in China, where they go to school from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on weekends for test prep. And they're not studying gender studies and white supremacy and whatever else. You know, they're studying cutting edge technology. They're taking the courses that will, you know, elevate them, they hope, they plan, to leadership dominance in the world. How are these kids of ours gonna measure up to that?
Well, I'm going to prove you right. When I used to be on One American News every week, along with the crew that was there at the time, including Liz Wheeler, Liz did a show yesterday where she showed the test results in Illinois public schools. Not one single school district in the top X number of schools, like 70 schools or something like that, could show a majority of the kids graduating can read and write and do math to the curriculum requirements of the school districts. We're turning out idiots, full score idiots. Look, if this lecturer says to the crowd at University of California, great school supposedly, that it's written in the law that it's legal for a white man to rape a black woman, and there's no law against it, that's insanity. And they invite him back. We are creating a nation of hate mongers. And we're splitting the country up by race. And it's not just race, it's racial hatred, to the extent that these goofballs find anybody to listen to them. Yeah. They're not getting an education, they're getting indoctrinated.
That's right. And, you know, my mind goes to the 1958 book. We've talked about this before, I'm sure. The Naked Communist, written by former FBI agent W. Cleon Skousen, and based on information that he had either heard personally or maybe learned about from people who attended some of the congressional committees, House on Un-American Activities, and of course, Senator Joseph McCarthy's committee in the Senate going after communists. And we've mentioned this before, but bears repeating. Chapter 13 of that book is called The 45 Goals of Communism Today, meaning 1958. And among those, to me, among the most important of the 45 is number 17, which basically says, get control of the curriculum, get control of the textbooks and the teachers' associations, unions, the plan. The communist Marxist plan that we see playing out with critical race theory and all this DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion stuff. This is a blueprint that was laid out decades ago by the forces of communism and Marxism, which have infiltrated every institution of our society. But here, as we're talking about, most notably academia, and wreaking havoc within our country, within our society. This is exactly a communist Marxist revolution for taking down this republic of ours from within.